Hello and welcome to Scran, the podcast passionate about the Scottish food and drink scene. I'm your host, Rosalind, and on this special bonus episode, we take you to the launch of the Galloway Distillery. Previously the Crafty Distillery in Newton Stewart, actor and drinks aficionado Sam Heughan has purchased the business to develop his Sassanach brand of spirits further. In this episode, you'll hear Sam giving a speech at the launch and my chat with him afterwards, where he shares his childhood memories of the area and his hopes for the distillery. It was quite a windy and wet day and a noisy space, so apologies about the audio quality. You'll also hear from Craig Rankin, Master Distiller, who I chatted to about the new whisky brand, as well as their other gin and vodka products. He gave great insight into the process of creating the spirits and blends and about just how committed Sam Heughan is to his drinks projects.
Friends, neighbours, family, this is Galloway. Thank you, Angela. This small but mighty region of Scotland, a land that has so many secrets and so much to offer. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Sam Heughan, and I'd like to welcome home to you all to our Galloway Distillery. I don't know who wrote this. It was a bit late last night. Please have a warm Galloway welcome to you all. I appreciate you all coming, those who live locally and those who've come from the big cities, for making the journey to celebrate with us today. It wouldn't be the true Galloway welcome if we didn't have some dreich weather, but you can't have everything you want. Today is not just a homecoming for me, it is a full circle. I stand before you not as Jamie Fraser or Macbeth. I am allowed to say that. I stand here as the lad who used to play in the forest and around the castle ruins on the shores of Loch Ken, not far from here. I grew up here in Galloway. I've always felt thankful for the lucky start I had, thankful to my mother, despite being a Sassanach, for moving here before I was born. I'm thankful for the community that embraced and supported us. This is the soil that raised me. This is where I learned the meaning of imagination, creativity, hard work, of friendship and community. And I remember standing on the ruined castle walls pretending to be a knight, or I've written an elf, or a king, with a head full of wonder and a heart full of ancient stories and limitless dreams. As Angela mentioned, Galloway has so much tangible history. And I remember walking those worn paths that our ancestors walked centuries ago. I listened to the stories passed down in music and song. I remember how crystal clear and refreshing the water in the loch is. And once you're in and the shock is over, it's a joy to swim in very briefly. I remember thinking, even as a boy, that this is a special place. Over my career as an actor, I've had the privilege to travel the world. Yet, no matter where I travel to, what remarkable places I've seen, I meet interesting people, we begin to talk, they always ask, and I'm very proud to tell them where I'm from. Every time I see the sunrise over the water or a sunset on a foreign city skyline, I always find that part of me is still back here. And now, after years of traveling, learning, building, dreaming, we're coming home. Because no matter how far I've gone, this land, this place, this community has always been my home. And the Galloway community is vibrant and unique. Growing up, our friends were musicians, farmers, artists, clog makers, the local doctor, the local schoolmaster, the landowner, Buddhist converts, and filmmakers. This community has kept traditions alive while embracing change. And you have built lives of meaning, of kindness, and of grit. You've built community, and you've also kept that Galloway gallows humour. So now, I feel it's time for me to give back to this place where I first learned to dream, to imagine great things, to the soil that nourished my dream, and the people who shaped me. And I'm here to invest, but not just money, more importantly, heart. And we're launching something really special here, I believe. Not just a business, not just a distillery. We're building a destination and sharing this precious place with the rest of the world. I want to celebrate. I want to celebrate our heritage, our stories, our nature, while inviting others to experience it with us. And I see an opportunity to shine a spotlight on all that Galloway has to offer, and this is just the first step. So to our new community, thank you. Thank you for being patient. We're chasing a dream, and I ask you to join me and help Galloway flourish. I hope that we may show all those that come to visit, as Angela said, its spirit, its beauty, its character, and the Galloway way. Cheers, Angela. Thank you, Angela.
Here at Galloway Distillery with Sam Heughan.
Cheers. Good to see you. Thanks for coming here.
That's all right. Thanks for having us. So we are here today because you've got a big announcement. It's exciting news. Do you want to tell us what's going on?
Yes, we're here in Galloway. This is the Galloway Distillery. It's a project we've been working on for a number of years, but I'm really happy. It's our opening day. The weather gods have brought the Galloway Scottish weather, but we're really happy. It's a place that we're really hoping to expand on and produce really special spirits.
So you've taken over.
Yes, this is a new project. We wanted to create a distillery in Galloway. It's basically a homecoming for me. I was born and raised here. I feel very, very thankful. It's such an amazing place. People come to Scotland, especially tourists, and they go up north and they go to Skye and they go to Glencoe, but actually there's so much to discover in Galloway. It really has so much, from the coastline to amazing ruins to stone circles and, of course, amazing spirits. And my journey here was basically, I started working with the guys here on our Wild Scottish Gin a number of years ago, and we realised that we really wanted to create a new distillery here in New Galloway.
And so we've got Sassanach, correct?
This is the Sassanach, yeah. So we're a house of many brands now. We have the Galloway Distillery, we have Sassanach, we've also got Hills and Harbour, and we're going to start producing today. We're about to fill our first barrel of Galloway whisky.
And you're producing a vodka as well, is that right? Sassanach vodka?
We are, yes. It's the best of Scotland's produce. The wheat is from Galloway. So Galloway wheat, I looked at different kinds of vodkas, and I wasn't much of a vodka fan, and I really dug into it, and we realised Scotland produces amazing wheat, and then we realised actually apples and brambles adds like a real crisp freshness to it, a brightness to it, but also the brambles add this richness to it. So it's very luxurious vodka, really delicious. So I think we'll have a lot of converts when they try this one.
And I was speaking to Craig earlier, because you are very heavily involved with the creation of these, because you know how there's some famous people who just put their names to things, but you're actually really quite involved, aren't you?
I mean, the Galloway Distillery is my dream, self-financed. We've been working on this for a long time. The Sassanach, obviously, is the same. Yeah, absolutely. And I think poor Craig, our master distiller, I put him through the ringer with the gin and then the vodka. We thought the vodka would be easy, but actually, it turns out it's actually really complicated. But I think we've created something really, really special, really unique. I think people are going to really warm to it. I think it's a real representation of great Scottish produce.
And can you tell us a bit about the whisky that you're putting in cask today?
Today we're doing a PX sherry cask. We have hundreds of barrels already that we've been putting aside and laying down, but this is our first one for the Galloway Distillery. So we're going to have a real exploration of what is good Galloway whiskey. We also are growing our own barley. And we have a couple of fields of barley here, so we're thinking about, obviously at some point we'd love to do a single malt. But yeah, there's a lot of ideas out there. I think perhaps the first whiskey release will probably be a blend, because obviously it takes time. But we're getting there, and I'm really excited. The whiskey is phenomenal. Our new make is amazing.
Yeah, because there's been a lot of sort of technical work with like university, and it's not just it's not your usual distillery. I've seen it, and it's quite.
We go to the nth degree. Craig is a master of what he does, and even looking at the gin process. We've got we're freeze drying botanicals. We're creating resins. We're really kind of going in depth to it. And I think if you try our new make, I'm just really amazed to see where it goes when it's been aged in wood, because it's got some really interesting kind of like tropical fruit flavour in it. So yeah, we'll see what happens when it sits in a delicious sherry cask for a number of years.
And so, yeah, first release another blend, so it'd be another kind of similar to the one you've already got.
Yeah, I mean, we actually haven't decided. We've got a number of avenues we're looking at, but I would love to do, something that's slightly different. Obviously, we've got, this beautiful Sassanach whiskey, which is a great blend. But I don't know how we're going to finish it yet. I've got a number of avenues. I love wine barrels as well. I think they'll be really interesting. Maybe dessert wine. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, it's exciting times.
It's honestly, it's like a playground. It's amazing getting to play with different barrels and seeing how it ages over time as well. And obviously, things take time here in Scotland. The weather's not the best, but it's so fun. These guys we're working with are amazing. Our whole team here, so hardworking. And we're just trying to create, as you can see, this sort of beautiful surroundings. There's so much nature, so much history in Galloway. So we want to impart a bit of that to people that come and visit.
And, you've talked about your childhood here and, this is you coming home. How much do you see yourself spending time here, in possibly in the future?
I mean, I've already been here a lot. We've came down. These are our bothies that we've built. These are made with 100% Scottish oak, handmade. There's no, nails or anything. It's all been wood pegs. So it's really crafted, and we want to make these into tasting rooms. You can hire them either separately or together. We want to do different tastings. I've been down here a lot. This wasn't here at all. We've put down all this paving, created this outdoor area, and planted over 100 botanicals, which are all coming up now, which look fantastic and smell amazing. You can smell them now. But yeah, so I'm heavily involved. I'll be here a lot, as much as I can be.
Any future plans that you can tell us about?
We're planning permission, and we're working towards a larger whisky distillery, which will be over the site, just to the east of the current distillery. That's where the car park is now. We'd love to expand and just invite more people down, not just to see the distillery, but to see Galloway. It's got so much to offer. As I said, there's great coastline, there's amazing history, amazing castles and food producers. So we want to celebrate them as well. So we're trying to highlight a lot of craft people. We've got amazing ceramicist who's doing our tableware, our glassware. We've got some leather makers. We've got local illustrators doing our logo and our branding. So we really want to help showcase Galloway and everything it has to offer.
So when you came to these guys for your gin, did you sort of come with the idea of with the distillery and taking over the distillery, or did it all kind of happen?
We've actually been looking for a long time. We had a number of different sites that we were looking at, but honestly, this just felt right. The guys here are all local boys. I'm a local boy, and I just love working with them. And then we realized, this is an opportunity, and we decided that Galloway needs its own distillery, its own brand. I think Scotland itself needs, a new region. I think the Galloway should be its own region. It's such an amazing place, very different to the rest of Scotland. 12 miles from Ireland, you can see the lights of Ireland, you can see the Isle of Man, you can see England, the Lake District across the Solway Firth. It's had history of Vikings here, the Romans. You've got the Gaels. So it really is a very, very special place.
Which is interesting because the Lowland is so, the Lowland region in whisky is so massive. Fife is trying to kind of do its own thing. You guys are, so it would be interesting to see if it does break up into smaller little pockets. Yeah,
I think the Lowland region is, it's covers such a large area, and I think it needs more categorization, I guess, but also there are a couple of other distilleries here. We'd love to perhaps start working with them, create a Galloway distillery tour. There's so much to explore here, and I think it really is the undiscovered place. Much more work to do as well.
Nice. And just quickly on your new book, The Cocktail Diaries.
Yes,
it's over there.
It's over there.
That's an exciting time as well. So you've obviously clearly been talking about cocktails quite a lot. Do you have a one for vodka, or the new spirit coming out? Do you have a cocktail you'd recommend for your new vodka?
For the vodka, I'm a martini guy, and I've always been a dry gin martini. Vodka makes an amazing martini. Vodka's kind of goes in a lot of cocktails. The Cocktail Diaries book came about because we were meeting a lot of producers. A lot of my travels around Scotland, but also abroad to Mexico. We did our tequila collaboration, and just meeting amazing producers, amazing bartenders. I kind of wanted just to, share some of the amazing stories and experiences I've had whilst on this spirits adventure. It's out now, and it's been a really fun project to do. And we've got a bit at the back which has some bartenders from the top 50 bars in the world, and they've gone away and created some cocktails with the Sassanach and come up with these amazing cocktails. So yeah, a lot of fun to sort of celebrate these, geniuses, really, great mixologists.
Oh yeah, it's become almost like a chef now.
It really is. I mean, cocktail making is like being a Michelin star chef. And some places are going to such large degree of process. So the cocktails in the book should be very accessible. I'm not a mixologist. I'm not a great bartender, but I am an enthusiast. And I'm trying to sort of show that actually it's really easy. Couple ingredients, 3 ingredient cocktails are simple, they're classic, they date back to the 1800s, so easy to make. And then they get more complex as you go through the book.
I meant to ask you this last time, and you're probably sick of getting asked this, but when we last spoke about your gin and you like a martini, shaken or stirred?
Oh, come on now. It's got to be stirred. But actually, it depends on the occasion. I think that's always what's your favorite drink or how do you like things? But yeah, I mean, I would say the vodka, if you want something refreshing, you shake it, you get a lot more ice shards in there. You're going to get a lot more dilution, so it's going to be more refreshing. Whereas a stirred down cocktail is obviously going to be a lot more strong, a lot less diluted. Really depends on the situation, I guess.
Anything else that you...
I just say thank you so much for coming. Please come down to Galloway. It's an amazing place. Even when the weather's dreary like this, we've got this beautiful distillery, amazing courtyard, and come and try our spirits, see what we've got to offer here in Galloway. Cheers to that.
Cheers.
Great to see you.
Yeah, thanks
for coming.
Much. Thank you.
Pleasure.
This is Craig, Master Distiller, Commercial Director from us in. And I just want to share a bit about the ethos that runs through the veins here at Galloway Distillery. And that ethos we call the Galloway Way. Now, I hear you all think, what is that way and where does it come from? Or is he just saying Galloway a wee bit funny? But I started on this journey with Sam a few years ago when we were creating Sassanach Wild Scottish Gin. And we were about 6 months deep, maybe 48 recipes deep and about 18 pioneering techniques. And I turned to him and realised we were nowhere near completion. And that was the moment I realised that we both shared this way. This way that good just wasn't good enough for us. We had this, not a want, but a need to turn good into special. So, creating stuff that's good, it's relatively easy, but that portion between good and special, that's a really tough road. It's a really, it takes more than just experience in distilling or a bit of learned knowledge. It takes big creativity, imagination, passion. And, where does that come from? Where does that shared way come from? Well, Sam, like me, like many others in this room, we all grew up in Galloway. And Galloway's a really, accessible but detached place, full of history, folklore, myth, legend. And, as kids in Galloway, we went out and explored those wilds. And, and a day in a life looked a bit like this. We'd get chucked out of the house because your mother needed to clean the house. And, you would go and start the day building huts in the woods and then get chased off by white lady ghosts. When you'd arrive at some standing stones and try and perform some weird ceremony. And then you'd wind off the day pretending to be a king in some ruined castle, And Galloway does something really special to you, if you're open to it. And it creates these wildly vivid imaginations, creativity, passion, curiosity. And that is all the things that drives us in everything we do to go much further here, to uncover much more. And this is the way that we call the Galloway. So if we could just all war cry a toast and raise your glasses to the Galloway. Cheers. Cheers. Cooperages and everybody in between pull their hair out of our QC process when we're sending them back and rejecting them. But I think we've established now that everybody knows that we demand only the highest of quality. And there's a firm belief and kind of half leaning on science, half leaning on the layman, and using theory and technique. To really just look after every single stage of the process, and you would assume that all of those little parts make up something really special, and that's what we have dropping off the still and coming out the cask today. But yeah, still no official release yet.
Because how long have you been making the whiskey for? Is it just
so
recent, isn't it?
The oldest is just over 3 years.
So you're past that point. Oh, nice.
But yeah, the releases, like with everything else, we won't accept a cask, we won't accept less than 160-hour fermentation, we only accept a lipid count of X amount in the barley. There's no hard and fast release date for when we'll release it. It needs to get to that place that we really love to want to do it. So.
Yeah, and just for my understanding, when it comes to the Sassanach, which has obviously been made by Lomond, how's that going to work with this situation? Yeah,
so blends by default come from lots of different distilleries. And a blend we might endeavour in another blend. In fact, there's already a plan in place to really see if we can have a more localised blend. But watch this space for that. But I think there's always a place for blend. There's a lot of creativity that's available in a blend. And a blend by nature, it's from lots of different distilleries, but it doesn't mean that you can't achieve special things with them. So that blend is a beautiful product, and much to the commercial director in me, there's everything from 21-year-old single grain and that to 18-year-old single malt. That is no, famous grouse. There is some really fine malts, and that single grain is heavily aged and really bright and citrusy. So these are fantastic products, and that Sassanach, can sing loud and proud and continue. The spirit foam can continue to work its magic out there, and we might look at one other blend to really. To really kind of celebrate a more localised area and a different style. I think there will always be a place for us to flex our creativity in blended whiskey as well. So there's no juxtaposition with that. And every product that is in the Sassanach range, I can't stress this enough. Sam is a true artisan. He is really involved in the development. I mean, the Sassanach Wild Scottish Gin, it took us over 13 months. There was over 100 recipes. There's 20 pioneering techniques. It was like WhatsApps at 3 a.m. about toasting oats a wee bit more, to the point where I just burnt them at one stage and went is this enough toasting? And then he'd be like, no, that's way too much, and we'd go back. He is a tortured artisan, and make no mistake, this is not just a fame-led brand. He is very passionate, and he is really part of that process. To say Loch Lomond made that, it's probably not so true. Sam's had a massive hand alongside the technical hands of Mr. Henry to get that over the line, but really the true inspiration and the overall final product, it really comes from Sam's mind. And that Sassanach Wild Scottish Gin was beautiful. I mean, the first time I sat down with Sam, it's we're going to make a gin. The world's your oyster with botanicals, but there's one thing we need in there, which is juniper, right? So we don't have to worry about that. So now we can get some forward movement. It's like, well, about that, I don't love juniper. You're like, oh, for God's sake. And, you know, instead of just, you know, leaving it at that and, you know, putting less juniper in, I started thinking, you know, what is it that you dislike about juniper? And it's like, well, I don't like the really robust bitterness of it, but, you know, I love the kind of, you know, the more high-end notes. So started looking at, you know, process of where we can lift certain pinene and terpenes out of it and leave the rest away. And actually, just for that one ingredient, and believe me, every other ingredient ended up like this. It is blitzed, macerated for 2 days, put through 4 tons of pressure, and distilled with none of the actual whole juniper in it. Okay. And what that does is give this big, massive nose of juniper, but none of the bitterness. It's all these, the more high-end pinene and terpenes, the more citrusy notes of it. So instead of that juniper dragging you down, it's so bright and vibrant. So, you know, every single ingredient was taken really, like, you know, considered and is distilled in a very different way. I mean, the rhubarb and blaeberries are hard frozen to minus 40 degrees so they don't get too stewed by the end of distillation. God, the Scots pine resin has to go in a different distillation, separate distillation, because it's like, you know, hard packed glue by the end of it. But it gives these lovely fresh eucalyptus, almost just smell of the Galloway forest, and it really nice and fresh. And yeah, as I said, you know, we spent a whole month toasting oats and doing about 15 different iterations of oat vodka, toasted oat vodka, just to find that right level of savoury to balance out against all these citrusy notes that put that complexity in. So, you know, it's kind of, a lot of this goes beyond, you know, a lot of this needs to go beyond a bit of experience in distilling and learn knowledge. You know, it goes into another space to really kind of convert into really special products, and that doesn't necessarily come from, you know, a 20-year experienced distiller. You know, that comes from imagination and creativity. It's probably hard for people to understand, but believe me, you know, I can share, next time we develop another product, I can wake all those people up at 3 a.m. when Sam's torturing, like, texted me about how much toastedness we do in this or that and the next thing. We've got a beautiful new vodka that we've been working on for the last 7 months. And yeah, that was like, you know, it's like, again, vodka, it was like relatively tasteless, flavourless, you know, pure spirit. Should be easy, but I mean, that was our biggest foe. It's how can you ever feel like, oh, this is a really special product if it's relatively tasteless and flavourless? And we spent months, like, we literally distilled everything, every field, every, you know, grain type, and nothing was landing. They were all really good, right? Just nothing was landing where it's like, wow, this is really special. And we ended up pushing to the brambles that, you know, draped over the dry stone dikes that surrounded the fields, and the apple trees, the wild, you know, Scottish apples that you see everywhere in Galloway. And we're like, you know, what if we fermented those into the mix with wheat, which gives us lovely, elegant, you know, smooth vodka. And yeah, that was months of distillation, and now, you know, that was a tri-spirit of fermented bramble, 100% fermented bramble, apple and wheat taken to reflux in our really modern 7-foot reflux stills, which allows much more flavour to come but still hit those purities of 96%. And that vodka is, yeah, really excited to release it, and it's something very special. But I suppose importantly, it kind of defines Scottish vodka, you know. For me, what's more Scottish, or certainly from Galloway, than, you know, the grain in the fields, the brambles all over the dry stone dikes, and the apples. You know, I suppose America's got corn and Tito's, and, you know, Poland's got their potatoes, and, you know, France maybe got wheat with Grey Goose. But, you know, have we ever really defined a Scottish vodka? That's really the hope and aim, and it sings true of it. You know, it really does. But again, you know, not the most economical fermenting and distilling with brambles and apples. And I'm talking about 20 times more expensive. But that's what it's all about, you know. It's all about, you know, not bringing exercises in marketing, but really special products to the market. And that's tough to do in business, you know, but that's what we stand firm on. And I suppose ironically, it's probably what people are most suspicious of because, he's famous. But actually the polar opposite is true, and we're going much further than even, a lot of distilleries that, have been about for many years.
So that's the nature of being this small. I know there's like expansion plans, but being this small and without that kind of heritage, and you can really go for something quite different.
Yeah,
you did it with your Hills and Harbour. You've already got well-established products.
Hills and Harbour are like 100% grain to glass. Exploring all 5 basic tastes: sweet, sour, salty, bitter, umami. 18 months of development. 200 of the general public feeding in at the final stages. Playing off. Mango shares more of the same pinene and terpenes with juniper than any other fruit in the world. So in that case, we managed to balance juniper off against the soft and sweet mango, but still project that and honour that same traditional flavour that gin should taste of, but in an altogether more balanced outfit. Hills and Harbour is true beauty. We're super proud of it, and when we started to share amongst people that we're changing the distillery name and things are moving forward. I've had several death threats. If that gin disappears anywhere, then I'm a dead man. Hills and Harbour will remain, and it is a beautiful product that really coins the fields, forests and shorelines of Galloway, with the noble for the bladderwrack seaweed and the wheat from the fields. But it just goes all together further with a heavy respect for what gin should be, but really balancing that out and making it more vibrant by tagging all the flavour receptors and the nerve endings. So it's really special product, and the distilled cocktail, the world's first distilled cocktail got 600 times more botanicals than you would ever find in a gin. Should be scientifically impossible. You chuck all those ingredients in a still, and what you get is just lots of elution, big cloudy spirit, which is not desirable on the shelf. So it took me about 18 months to figure out how to make a crystal clear liquid, but with that intensity and amount of botanicals in it. And the answer came in a flamethrower, just like reducing down a stock to a fine jus. I can do the same with citrus fruits by burning the outsides and blipping the essential oils, reducing the amount of oils but upping the intensity of them. And that product is hundreds of kilograms of fresh oranges and pineapples, flamethrowered, cold smoked over whisky chips, macerated for days in spirit, put through cider presses, and then the last act is distilled. So, these are all very special products that have never, that product has never even existed on the market, spirits market before, and stirred down like a Victorian style cocktail, it's good to go. But like my mother with a very sweet tooth, a bit of lemonade in that, and it's a very pure, dangerous juice, which she's been, the only thing she could get a hold of until now, having an overly sweet tooth for alcohol, is things like, jam-packed full of E numbers and flavourants, like from Smirnoff Ice even through to Aperol and Campari, with their red 40s and all that. I mean, it was about bringing that crystal clear purity, a sort of more grown-up premium version of flavoured spirit, I suppose. Yeah. It's really time to get that stuff out there and tell the truth of actually what's going on here with these products, because it's a very unique thing having somebody with big reach that is actually not just licensing a name, actually doing interesting stuff, and is actually going that extra mile to create really special products. It's a wonderful mix, and all of them, are really singing of Scotland in one way or another. I think we can be proud in Galloway and proud in Scotland to be really champion in these spirits. Yeah,
and not many of the other famous folk are buying distilleries, so...
No, for sure. It would be an understatement to say that guy is invested in Scotland, in Galloway, in passion for crafting spirits. He feels it super deeply. Really hard thing for people to understand, but it's very true.
Thanks to everyone for being my guest on this episode, and thanks to you too for listening. Please remember to rate, review and subscribe so you never miss an episode of Scran. Scran is co-produced and hosted by me, Rosalind, and co-produced, edited and mixed by Kelly Crichton.